Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope wherever you are across the country, across this great world, you are having a fantastic start to an early weekend, perhaps. My kids are out for fall break. My wife is already down at the beach house with them. I don't get to go down till tomorrow because your boy never stops working, especially during football season. I would never have believed that we were ever going to end up in a situation where the woke era of the NBA and potentially the woke era of sports in general went to die in China. Going to get to that in a minute. But first, there is much to discuss. I'm going to give you a rundown of where we're headed here today on Outkick the Show. NBA and LeBron shut up and dribble in China. Braves and the Dodgers choke. The NFL top 5, bottom 5, college football top 10, and picks on tonight's Giants-Pats game. But I want to start with what happened early this morning in China. The NBA bit the knee. The NBA acquiesced to China. The NBA shut up and dribbled. China allowed the preseason game between the Lakers and the 76ers to take place, but the preconditions required that no NBA players, coaches, or executives talk to the media before or after the game. As a result, it is a literal truth that LeBron James, who said, "I am more than a basketball player," LeBron James, who said, "I will not shut up and dribble," LeBron James shut up and dribbled and took communist-inspired cash from China in exchange for doing so. He didn't just shut up and dribble. He shut up and dribbled for a mass murdering totalitarian regime with 1 million plus people in concentration camps right now. He shut up and dribbled in a country of 1.4 billion where they don't have basic freedoms, where they cannot even get on the internet and be able to read about the Tiananmen Square massacre because it has been blocked. They can't even get on Twitter because it doesn't exist in their country. And they can't even use a basic form of Google because their minds are censored and controlled by the government around them. LeBron James had no problem with any of that. China said jump, and he asked how high. China said kneel, and he asked how low. Adam Silver, LeBron James, Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, all of them knelt at the altar of the almighty dollar and sold their souls in exchange for more cash when they already had a lot of cash. This is as disastrous of a week as I can ever remember any professional sports league having in my life. The NBA so fundamentally misplayed their hand here that as a result, they managed to ally AOC and Ted Cruz, who wrote a letter together ripping the NBA for their inability to accede to basic First Amendment freedoms, for Daryl Morey, and for their unwillingness to stand up to China in the process. The NBA's hypocrisy at long last came home to root. They were woke and they talked a big game when there were no actual financial consequences involved in doing so. But as soon as they actually had to be willing to stand up to China, to the boogeyman of communist China, to the dictators there, they shut up and said nothing at all. They dribbled and did their job as basketball players. They were not more than basketball players. They were less than human in the way that they responded to this controversy. And it wasn't just LeBron, and it wasn't just Adam Silver. It was Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich, who both got called out by Donald Trump for being more critical of America than they were of China. It was Steph Curry. It was James Harden. It was everybody who is a face of an NBA franchise right now. Every franchise itself, including the Nets, whose own owner penned an 800-word harangue arguing that anyone in America who criticized China didn't understand the history of China, and he tried to talk down to us as if we weren't the fount of Western civilization, as if basically everything that is good in the world has not run through the ideals in which America has espoused. There's lots of talk about being on the wrong side of history from left-wingers. Oftentimes that's difficult to know because we don't know how history is going to turn out. But there is this truth. immutably so over the past couple of hundred years. Being on the right side of history means supporting the propagation of democracy. It means endorsing free speech. It means supporting human rights across the globe. The NBA and its players had a chance to do so. They failed. Instead of standing up for democracy, they took more cash. I hope they understand the unbelievable damage they have done to their brand. The next time they come back in the United States and they threaten to move an all-star game because of a state law they don't like, everybody, I hope, deluges that entire league with this question. You aren't willing to play in North Carolina because of a transgender bathroom bill, but you are willing to play in China despite the fact that they don't have basic human rights in that country. You, boys and girls, have lost completely your ability to argue that you are the moral authority on anything. You have no more legitimacy in anything other than basketball. Shut up and dribble, indeed. Yesterday, I said the easy solution was all you had to do if you were Adam Silver was leave the country. Say to China, we don't need your money anymore. And here is a story that is not being talked about by very many. Why is the NBA so desperate to grow in China? It's because they've maximized their audience in the United States. In fact, the NBA audience for the finals is half what it was in 1998 when Michael Jordan was still playing. You might have missed that because there's so many cheerleading media out there that support the NBA. But there are half as many people watching the NBA in America right now as it watched in 1998. Michael Jordan produced twice the audience that LeBron James does. People want to say, oh, the NBA is going to catch the NFL. The NBA was a lot closer to catching the NFL in the 1990s than it is today. The NFL's audience has grown since the late 90s. The NBA audience has collapsed in the process. The reason why the NBA is so desperate to grow abroad is because that's where they think their growth is going to come, because they're not going to grow in the United States anymore. And that's why they bent the knee to China. That's why they kowtowed when confronted with a difficult decision. That's why they shut up and dribbled from the commissioner on down. That's the story. I think it's a massive one. I just recorded a podcast with Darren Ravel discussing this issue in detail. If you want like 30 minutes of discussion that you will really enjoy, I'd encourage you to go download the Wins and Losses podcast, which is going to be up very soon. A lot of the one-on-one conversations, which are really, really good from across the landscape. And I think you guys will really enjoy that. So that is out there to be up later today on Wins and Losses. I will be up on Lock It In here in a little bit, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, 1:30 Pacific. So the NBA is dead as a woke entity. I think the larger story here, contextually, is that woke sports in general may have given up the ghost with the NBA. Because how in the world is LeBron James or any other NBA star going to be taken seriously when they make a big deal of not going to the White House to see Donald Trump in the wake of being willing to go to China and shut up and dribble there? Easy response. LeBron James, we're not going to go see that bum in the White House, Donald Trump. That's what he might say if the Lakers were able to win a title. You know what the vast majority of Americans are going to say? Wait a minute. You won't go to the White House to see Donald Trump, but you lended your name, support, image, likeness, and entire brand to a communist dictatorship in China and didn't say a word against them. But you come back to the United States and you take shots at our country. This is the end of the woke NBA. I really believe this. I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything. And some people say, and this is a conversation I had with Darren Ravel, what's going to actually happen? What's going to actually happen when they come back to America? I think they've lost the casual NBA fan. I think the regular diehard NBA fan isn't going to care. But I think there are a lot of people out there who show up for the NBA Finals, live in middle parts of the country, aren't sitting around worried about woke politics all the time, that will not show up for the NBA Finals, especially if it's a mediocre or bad matchup. This is a major issue for the NBA going forward. And how about the video that I tweeted? Hopefully we can add this. The NBA talks all the time about how their players are more than athletes. Did you see the reporter from a CNN foreign bureau who asked James Harden and Russell Westbrook to reflect upon the situation in China and was shot down by the NBA and the Houston Rockets and not allowed to answer that question? This is amazing. If you do something that's so bad that you unite AOC and you unite Ted Cruz, you have bungled a story on a fundamentally incomprehensible level, and that's exactly what happened. The NBA shot down a CNN reporter who was trying to ask a question of Russell Westbrook and James Harden about something other than basketball, something that's supposed to happen. And by the way, I think this is just starting. Have you seen in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., where supporters are showing up saying free Hong Kong, and the NBA and the arenas and the teams are forcing those fans to be kicked out of the arenas or taking away their signs and their shirts? The NBA, which allowed all of its players to make whatever political statements they want, has now got a situation where fans are showing up to their arenas and trying to support democracy in Hong Kong and in America. They are being kicked out of our arenas to avoid antagonizing China. I don't know how this ends, but imagine if you sit courtside in a free Hong Kong shirt. It's going to get messy for the NBA. Are they going to start evicting entire fan bases? What if people decide to start chanting free Hong Kong because they are disappointed in what the NBA has done? This is going to be a mess. This is going to be a mess for a long time to come for the NBA. I think Roger Goodell is sipping back on his tea right now, saying, I'm so glad that Adam Silver finally screwed up in a big way. So that's the latest on the NBA and China. How about the Braves? My 9-year-old has turned into a huge Atlanta Braves fan. He got home from school yesterday so excited to watch this game. By the time he sat down, it was already 1-0. By the time it was 10-0, he turned off the television. He came and he found me and he said, why did the Braves have to ruin my day? And I said, you know what? There are an awful lot of Atlanta Braves fans who've been asking that question for nearly 20 years. I got a couple of wild stats for you. Can you believe that it has been 2 years, 8 months, and 3 days since the Atlanta Falcons gave up their lead against the New England Patriots? 28-3. It has been 2 years, 8 months, and 3 days. That's how long it has been when the Braves blew it against the Cardinals yesterday. 28-3 continues to echo throughout the entirety of the Atlanta sports scene. The Braves have now lost 10 consecutive postseason rounds. That matches the longest such streak in Major League Baseball postseason history. To be fair, the Cubs went from 1910 to 1998 without winning a postseason series. That in and of itself is an incredible accomplishment. There were people born who died who never saw the Cubs win a postseason series, so that is pretty wild. What about the Dodgers? The Dodgers and Clayton Kershaw. I'm not sure there's any athlete in all of sports that has had more success in the regular season and less success in the postseason than Clayton Kershaw. You could probably analogize him to maybe James Harden and Russell Westbrook, maybe Jim Kelly. But for his age and his success so far, to come in up 3-1 and in the 8th inning give up back-to-back home runs to tie the game was brutal. And then for a walk-off grand slam to happen to eliminate the Dodgers, who won 106 games, is one of the most difficult ways to go. We had a debate, and I don't know the answer. You guys may feel one way or the other. Is it better to give up 10 runs like the Braves did in the first half of the first inning and never have a chance to win, or to choke away the win in an elimination game like the Dodgers did? I don't know the answer. To me, the answer is the Dodgers is worse, because at least with the Braves, what you could do what we did, turn off the television and go do something else. Whereas with the Dodgers, you invested 4 hours of your day in whether or not they were going to be able to win, and they choked it away completely. I think that it's worse to go like the Dodgers. Now, I will admit an exception. It's better to lose like the Dodgers if you're at the game, because at least then you have an enjoyable game for part of it. If you had shown up at that Braves game, then that would have been insanely difficult to watch, and you probably want to bail almost immediately. And by the way, the Braves deserve this because they banned the foam tomahawk hawks, hawks that you chop with or whatever, tomahawks. They banned the chop because some loser dude on the St. Louis Cardinals complained about it. This is a brutal decision by the Atlanta Braves. You've been doing this since 1991, since Deion Sanders was there. If I had known that the Braves were going to do this, I would have called that collapse even before it actually happened. The foam finger tomahawk being banned by Atlanta is such a loser, politically correct move that managed to offend everyone and placate maybe one dude, and that dude's a freaking loser who plays for the St. Louis Cardinals. You can't kowtow to whiners. You can't allow whiners to dictate the decisions that you make. I'm sorry if that dude's upset. Deal with it, brother. It's been going on since 91. If I owned the Braves, I would never, ever change anything associated with that. Okay, NFL top 5, bottom 5. Let me give you my top 5, bottom 5 right before the Giants and the Jets get going. Top 5 teams in the NFL, in order. The Patriots, the 49ers, the Saints, the Chiefs, and the Packers. The 5 best teams in the NFL through 5 weeks: the Patriots, the 49ers, the Saints, the Chiefs, and the Packers. What about the 5 worst teams? The Cardinals, the Jets, the Bengals, the Redskins, and the Dolphins. Top 5, bottom 5 from Outkick. Top 5 best teams, top 5 worst teams. We do this every single week. Let me also hit you right now with my college football top 10. I haven't done this yet this week. This is after week 6 in college football. I've got LSU 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Alabama 4, Florida 5, Oklahoma 6, Auburn 7, Notre Dame 8, Wisconsin 9, and Penn State 10. Again, my top 10 college football national top 10. LSU 1. I judge them entirely based on what we've seen on the field. LSU 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Alabama 4, Florida 5, Oklahoma 6, Auburn 7, Notre Dame 8, Wisconsin 9, Penn State 10. All right, gambling pick tonight. Gambling pick tonight, Thursday night football. The Giants going on the road against the Patriots. The Giants are now 17-point underdogs. They have none of their offensive weapons. I love 2 bets tonight in the NFL. I love the under, and I love the Patriots to cover this game. I also love the under on the team totals for the New York Giants. All right? Pats minus 17, under 42.5, under 12.5 on the Giants. All right? I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. If you like this show, share it. Thanks to Fox News again for having me on yesterday. Really busy day. I'll be on Lock It In, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, 1:30 Pacific. Kisses, boys and girls. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.